Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. A new video in which I would be talking about the revolt of 1857. In it, I will cover what were the reasons of the revolt, how it took place, and what were the consequences after the revolt. If you find my videos interesting, do like it and subscribe my channel for more such exciting content. And if you have any questions, do ask them in my comment section. Let's start now. First of all, let's talk about some of the critical reasons of this 1857 revolt. The British East India Company had been ruling the India since mid 18th century, particularly after the Battle of Buxar and Battle of Plassey in 1757, after which they gained a substantial and major control of the Bengal province by defeating the local rulers of that region. Their policies led to the widespread resentment and the anger among the common people of country, and the revolt arose from variety of reasons. For example, there was not a particular any kind of uniform reason throughout the country that led to the revolt. There were particular and many localized reasons belonging and varying differently to different regions that shaped and contributed to the mass movement and the mass revolt of this kind of nature. For example, one reason in Gujarat may not be another reason in Bengal, and that's why there were many local reasons that contributed to this growing anger, growing resentment, and the ultimate revolt against the British Empire. First of all, let's talk about the political reasons. The major political reason that led to the joining of the various royal emperors and the royal kings into this revolt were the policy of doctrine of lapse that was implied and imposed by the Lord Dalhousie. In this policy, it allowed the British to annex any princely state without male heir, which angered many Indian rulers like Tatya Tope, Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi, and inspired them to join the revolt. Like, they were forced that they cannot adopt any male heir, they cannot make any other person the ruler of their state if they don't have any children of their own, and British would ultimately annex their kingdom. And this angered these local rulers and saw them as an attack on their sovereignty, on their respect, on their royal privileged status, and that's why they also felt very neglected and widespread resentment against the British. And many of these princes and the local kings joined the revolt. Second reason are the economic reasons. The harsh British policies like heavy taxation, destruction of traditional industries, the land revenue policies of the British angered and worsened the situation of Indian peasants, workers, poor, and disadvantaged people, and it very much caused and developed a feeling of resentment, distrust, and loss of connect between the common people of the country from the British rulers and from the British administration. And the British lost the popular narrative and popular opinion among the people, and many people who felt exploited and exhausted by these harsh economic policies, these destructive economic policies, joined the revolt and provided local support to the mutiny and to the rebellion persons to keep going and fight against the British for a long time. Another reasons were the social and the religious causes. The reforms by the British, like abolition of sati pratha, policies, introduction and promotion of policies like widow remarriage, introduction of Western education, also the elite English education, introduction of Christianity into the India, they were seen as a threat of Indian tradition by the orthodox sections of Indian Muslims and Indian Hindus, and inspired them and united them to fight against the British and protect their religion through the violent mutiny. Like many Muslims and many Hindus saw that British were attacking their culture, they were banning their traditions, which they saw as very important and very crucial for their basic religious practicing, and that's why they felt very much angered that why British are interfering with their traditional practices, and that's why it led to the common and very strange type of Hindu-Muslim unity, and they both joined this revolt to protect their religion and their particular traditions by indulging into this violent mutiny and they saw that it was important to throw out the British of this country to protect their religion. For example, Hindus saw that if they want to protect their religion, the Hinduism, and if they want to achieve the Swaraj, they must throw the British. And Muslims thought that the British were kafirs and they have to do a kind of jihad, a political, a social kind of reform, a political and social fight against the kafirs, which this was the outsider, the British, to protect their Islam. The another major reason was the military cause. For example, many policies like introduction of new infield rifles, which soldiers required to bite off by using of greased cartridges that were rumored to be made of the cow and the pig fat, and it angered both the Hindus and Muslims, as cow and pig were very much holy and hated in both Islam and Hinduism, and they saw that they were forced to become impure by using and by indulging with the cow and the pig meat, and that's why they didn't like this policy, and they also joined the revolt because they were seeing that British were attacking their traditions and were making them impure according to their orthodox beliefs. And that's why it led to the widespread anger among the Hindu and Muslim religious beliefs, and they both joined this revolt in a very systematic and in a very aggressive manner to protect their interest and their political and their social interest against the British Empire. Now, if we talk about how the mutiny started, on 10 May 1857 at Meerut, the sepoys revolted by freeing the jailed sepoys of their community, killed the British officers, and marched to Delhi. They reached Delhi on 11th May and they captured the city and made the Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last Mughal emperor, the leader of the revolt. A common leader of the revolt throughout the country to spread a message of common unity and a common large face to give justification and to give validation to their mutiny and to their revolt against the British Empire at a very national level. And that's why Delhi became the center of this aggressive, violent mutiny against the British for a long time of like 4 to 5 months after that, along with cities like Lucknow, Awadh, Kanpur, Jhansi, Gwalior, etc. Now, if we talk about some of the consequences that took place after the suppression of this 1857 revolt, so let's talk about this. After the brutal suppression of 1857 revolt by the British forces, many things changed in political, cultural, economic and social sphere of the country. The very first and very crucial aspect that took place was the end of the British East India Company formally in 1858 and the formal took over of India by the British Crown and by the British Parliament. So after this mutiny, the British Crown saw that British East India Company was incapable, and that's why they dissolved this company and took the direct control of the India. So it was the end of British East India Company rule formally in 1858 and the beginning of the rule of British Empire in afterwards of 1858. Another thing was the systematic reorganization took place of Indian Army and of British Army that was stationed in India by the British on basis of caste, religion, race, gender to prevent the future revolts. So they basically what they did was they organized various regiments and various groups within the army, and they categorized the groups within the army based on segments and aspects like caste, religion, to basically prevent and stop any kind of Hindu Muslim and large scale unity among the people, to prevent any type of future revolt. So what they did was basically organize people on the basis of caste and religion into the army itself, so that the sepoys and the people and the Indian officers, so that they basically don't go into the such kind of national unity in future, and they keep dividing on this caste and religion thing by first of all giving priority to their own caste and on their own religious preferences, and to prevent any kind of national unity in future afterwards against the British Empire. So it was a very, what we can say, was a very smart move by the British to prevent any type of future revolt against themselves. Another important part was that the harsh suppression and the racial policies were adopted by the British against the local people, nationalists, and the common inhabitants of India, to basically provide and spread the factor of fear, anger, and hatred among the people of country. They very much used the policies of brutal suppression, violent means to suppress any type of even a peaceful protest, to crush the voice of nationalists, of people who are demanding their rights, so that they can spread the fear and anxiety among the common people of India that they should not stand and fight against the British, or else their destiny will be very brutal and very blooded. In conclusion, 1857 revolt was a first kind of large, though unsuccessful attempt by the inhabitants and the residents of India to stand and fight against any type of foreign oppression and show a united struggle and resistance against the cruel British Empire, and that's why this mutiny was called the First War of Independence 1857 by many nationalist heroes of our country. Thank you everyone for being a kind listener.